When a mother and her 3 daughters vanished in the middle of the night, the father was left alone in his home with many questions. However, another man had been in their home that night, invited in by the family. And after questioning him, he couldn't be located either. 2 sisters had survived the murder of their family and would eventually be found malnourished, yet alive, in the woods with their captor. You are such a genuine gem. Thank you for clicking on my video. I am Brooke Makenna. Today's case is another one of those survival stories. These are our favorite to cover here on this channel. I have heard it from you guys. I love it too because there's so much hope within them, and hope that we don't normally get within the true crime community, true crime stories. And these survivors truly are the most inspirational people in the world. And that involves these 2 sisters we're going to be talking about today. If you haven't ever watched any of these videos, I will leave a survival stories playlist down below for you to dive in for these survivors and learning their stories. So let's go ahead and dive into the story of these surviving sisters. But first, let's take a moment for Nourish. Now, Nourish helps you find a registered dietitian that for many is completely covered by your insurance. Now, dietitians don't have to mean weight loss or diets. For me, I really wanted to work on my gut health and overall energy levels through eating better. Through telehealth, I met my online dietitian Allison, who has completely changed my perspective on food as fuel and how it really does energize your body. There is no crazy restrictions on food or pressures to lose weight involved in this process. You can get help with all sorts of things through Nourish, such as your overall relationship with food, health conditions, autoimmune, gut health, nutrition education, and so much more. And your dietitian will be working with you to build different meal plans to help keep you accountable to support you in anything that you need. The best part is Nourish accepts hundreds of insurance plans in all 50 states, and so around 94% of patients pay $0 out of pocket. You can sign up on their website, and then if you want to, you can use their app to actually message your dietitian. You can log your meals as well as your progress. So you can find your personal dietitian at usenourish.com/Brooke. So it was 2012 in Tennessee, and the Bain family lived in Whiteville. This was Joanne and her 3 daughters, 14-year-old Adrienne, 12-year-old Alexandria, and 8-year-old Kalia. Now, Adrienne and Alexandria had come from Joanne's first marriage to a man named Mark Johnson. However, he had signed full custody over to Joanne and her new husband, Gary Bain. So Joanne and Gary Bain, they had full custody of these 2 girls, and then they had Kalia together. They were said to be a very, very close-knit, loving family. Joanne was back in school pursuing a degree in elementary education around this time. All of the girls were doing well in school, and Gary had a great job. However, that year, all 3 girls and their mother were believed to be kidnapped. You see, on April 26th, Gary Bain would return to his home that night. He would find his family all sleeping in their beds, so this was a little later into the night. He would go to bed as well. However, when he woke up the next day, he found that no one was home. Now, he believed that he had woken up too late to see the girls. They were already on the school bus at school, so he didn't worry about them. However, he did think it was quite strange that Joanne would already be gone. So he went about his day, but he tried calling Joanne, and she was not answering her phone. So then, when the girls didn't arrive home after school from the school bus, that is when he decided he needed to call the police because their family SUV was also missing. So the evening of Friday, April 27th, around 8 p.m., Gary would report them missing. And Joanne's mother would say that Gary called her around this time and asked, "Y'all haven't seen them?" And then he proceeded to say he believed that they were kidnapped. So Gary explained to police that Saturday, the whole family was going to start their move to Arizona. They had everything planned. In fact, they had one of Gary's friends named Adam, staying there to help pack the U-Haul to drive across the country. You see, Gary had to stay back for work, and so he wouldn't be moving there with them right away. And so Adam, their family friend, offered to go ahead and help them move. But at this point, with them all missing as well as Adam, it was theorized that he might have harmed them instead of helping them. By Sunday, investigators wanted to speak to this Adam to see if he knew anything. And so they found a 35-year-old Adam Christopher Mays, and he came in for questioning. He confessed that he had seen the family the last day that they had been seen, but had no idea what happened to them after that. Now, investigators had nothing to hold him on. There was not even really a crime committed at this point that they could prove, so he was released. However, they were still going to be investigating him further. However, investigators did wonder if Joanne and the girls had left willingly, and that maybe she was with this man Adam when she left, or maybe she was on her own and she took the children. But by that Monday, during the search around town, Joanne's SUV was found on the side of the road near their home. No one was inside or around the vehicle. There was no signs of a struggle. It simply looked abandoned there. By Tuesday, May 2nd, Adam Mays became a person of interest, while there was still no proof that a crime had actually occurred. Investigators went to arrest him due to finding that he had given them misleading information. However, he had vanished now as well. They began to look for him around the clock. However, 2 days later, on May 4th, a week since the family had vanished, this is when the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation finally issued an endangered child alert for the 3 children. However, that same day, a woman would come forward to the police, and she said that her husband had not only abducted this family, but had killed them. This was Teresa Mays, married to the person of interest, Adam Mays. Teresa claimed that she had been told by Adam that there were bodies buried behind a mobile home in Guntown, Mississippi. This was about an hour and 40 minutes from where the Bain family lived in Tennessee. After a search warrant was obtained for Adam's mobile home as well as his mother's home, that is when they went to search. And on May 5th, the Mississippi Highway Patrol finally issued an Amber Alert for the girls, claiming that Adam was armed and dangerous. The same day, while they searched Adam's mobile home, they found property that belonged to the girls. But when they went to his mother's home and they looked in that backyard, that is when 2 bodies would be found. They were badly decomposed in a shallow grave, and 2 days later they were identified as the bodies of Joanne Bain and Adrienne Bain, the eldest daughter. Immediately, Adam's wife Teresa was arrested, as well as Adam's mother, who was Mary Frances Mays. They were believed to be accomplices in the murders and hadn't come forward to investigators when it first occurred. However, the 2 youngest girls were not found, and neither was Adam Mays. By May 10th, nearly 2 weeks since the family had vanished, and 3 days since half of the family had been identified, investigators had no idea where the other half could be. 12-year-old Alexandria and 8-year-old Kalia were still missing. That backyard was scoured, but no other bodies had been found, and investigators pleaded with the public for help, announcing that Adam Mays had been added to FBI's most wanted list. He was wanted for unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, especially aggravated kidnapping and first-degree murder. Authorities believed he still had the 2 youngest girls hostage. Alexis had brown hair, hazel eyes, was 5 feet tall, and Kalia had blonde hair, brown eyes, and was 4 feet tall. A $175,000 reward was offered for information in this case, and Special Agent Aaron Ford spoke directly to Adam during this press conference, urging him to leave the girls at a safe location and peacefully turn them in. However, once in custody, Adam would not only be charged with what he was wanted for, but also for creating a false report. The Bureau told the public that he could be using different aliases, such as Christopher Zachary Wild or Paco Rodriguez, due to his Facebook pages with these names. And on one of these Facebook pages, they had actually found a photo with Adam and the 2 youngest girls, and they were leaning in together, cheek to cheek, smiling. At this point, it was also found that this Adam Mays had been investigated 2 years prior to the Bain family going missing, and this was in 2010, and this was on allegations of child abuse and possessing sexually explicit footage of children. A young family member, thought to be around 7 years old, had come forward saying that Adam had seen her nude and had shaved her legs while babysitting her. Back then, he denied this, and the investigation cleared him, so he was never charged. However, now 2 years later, he was a suspect of the kidnapping of 2 girls and the murder of 2 more. Now, he had last been seen in the Guntown, Mississippi area where his mobile home was on May 1st. And that day prior, he had actually been caught on surveillance footage at a convenience store near his home. The clerk actually noticed and told investigators that he had cut his hair short, and that was quite unusual. He normally had this long hair and a goatee, but he looked as though he had completely changed his appearance. So the clerk even asked him if he had cut off his ponytail and why, and Adam said that it was just too hot.
He walked out.
Yeah.
And he didn't look like he had any people with him.
No, he was so calm actually. I don't get that.
People who knew Adam began coming forward saying that he was aggressive, he wasn't trustworthy, and he threatened to kill his own wife, Teresa.
He was a personable person. Was good, easy to get along with. Never saw anything going on with him.
So, 33 years old, living with his mother and father. Did he have a job?
No, mostly he worked on cars and did odd jobs.
What was the wife like? Because I've got in my hand a federal arrest warrant for her for kidnapping.
Well, she was nice. I think she had a few emotional problems, but she would kind of get screaming fits or whatever, and it was kind of hard to deal with her at times. But sometimes you would see her just come out the house across the road, just go screaming and hollering. Well, mostly at Adam. She'd get mad at him about something.
The remaining Bain family claimed that Adam had been unusually close to the family, especially to the girls. They considered him an uncle. He was a trustworthy family member, or so they thought. He was always over at their house, and friends of the girls said that Adam was often watching them play softball. He was around them all the time, so much so that some people in the community believed that he was their father because he was just always there picking them up, dropping them off. Now, this is when the mother-in-law, so Teresa's mother, who was named Josie Tate, would tell the press that she had begged her daughter Teresa not to marry Adam. She believed that throughout their marriage he was threatening her and he was a control freak who made her cut ties with her entire family.
Approximately 2 years ago, Teresa called me here on the phone and she was crying and she said, "Can I come home?" And I said, "Well, most certainly." And her stepfather, who had never met her, got on the internet and wired a bus ticket up there. We picked her up at the bus station. She told me the reason she wanted to come home was she was tired of getting, and this is her exact words, tired of getting slammed against the walls, knocked around, and beat on.
Shockingly enough, Josie would also claim that when it came to Alexandria and Kalia, the 2 youngest, the 2 girls who were still missing, Adam thought he might be the girls' father. Not just that he would act like the girl's father, that he believed he was. She said this belief from Adam caused tension in the relationship between Teresa and Adam, and Teresa was tired of him doting on the little girls. It was unknown why Adam believed this, but it was uncovered that the Bain family and the Mays family weren't just friends. They also had another connection. You see, Gary Bain, Joanne's husband, had previously been married to Adam's sister, Pamela. But Adam's wife, Teresa, was then charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder and 2 counts of aggravated kidnapping. Now, during her interview, while she was in custody, it was noted in the affidavit that she had claimed that in Tennessee, at the Bain residence, she knew that Adam killed Joanne in the garage, and Adrian was killed there as well. She claimed they were both strangled to death, and then they took the bodies, they abducted the 2 younger girls, and she admitted she had been involved in driving them, the victims that were deceased and the victims that were being kidnapped, from Tennessee to Mississippi where they lived. She said once they arrived at Adam's mother's home, she witnessed Adam digging in the backyard. Teresa also believed that her husband was having an affair with Joanne Bain, the girl's mother. Adam's mother, Mary, was then charged with 4 counts of conspiracy to commit especially aggravated kidnapping. But the day of the plea for help from investigators, May 10th, would be fruitful because they would receive a tip. This was about a location in Mississippi, and officers as well as FBI agents would rush to the Zion Hill Baptist Church, which was around 1.5 miles from Adam's trailer. They were told to search the heavily wooded area behind that church. This was an area only usually populated by some hunters and animals. Around 6:50 p.m., Mississippi State Troopers began the search, and that is when one would see a small, blonde child peeking over the ridge. And the trooper yelled to put their hands up, and as they approached, they found 3 people lying face down on the ground. They appeared to take cover, and 2 young girls then raised their hands immediately, but the grown man between them just raised one. A trooper began to yell, "Gun, gun, gun," and that is when Adam got on his knees and took his life with a 9mm pistol right beside those little girls. The officers claim that as Adam got up, he didn't try to point the gun at them, at the girls, just himself. It was a single gunshot wound to the head. It turned out that the tip that led to this rescue wasn't actually a sighting of Adam or the girls. This tipster had just told authorities that this old log cabin behind the church might be a good place to hide. Fortunately, Adam thought so too, and so the girls were rescued. The officers said that Alexandria, the older sister of the 2, told her younger sister, "Now we can go home."
Troopers with the Mississippi Highway Safety Patrol Special Operations Group and the law enforcement arm of Mississippi Wildlife Fisheries and Parks, assigned to our FBI task force, rescued Kalia and Alexandria, the 2 missing girls from Tennessee. The girls were found alive and appear to be unharmed. Officers also apprehended top 10 fugitive Adam Mays. Preliminary reports indicate Mays shot himself in the head and was later pronounced dead at an area hospital. The girls were also taken for treatment as a precautionary measure.
Adam Mays was rushed to the Baptist Memorial Hospital in critical condition, and he was pronounced dead at 8:20 p.m. The girls were brought to a different hospital for evaluation, and they were covered in white sheets as they walked into the ER without being photographed by the news reporters. Both were said to be covered in insect bites, poison ivy, and the officer who spoke with them said that neither cried, but they were obviously shaken. They were dehydrated and starving, and they had been without food and water for around 3 days. However, they had been out there for more than 3 days, and it had been raining. They had no change of clothes or not really much shelter either. At a press conference that night, the police spokesperson said that when the children got to where they could speak and calm down, they would then find more details. They were giving them a chance to rest.
Yesterday around 1800 hours, I received a call from my Major Billy Mays about another tip about a cabin behind a church, Design Hill Baptist Church. Myself and my partners, Game and Fish, we responded to it. There was no sign of any power lines from the church in the woods, but 2 logging roads were found. We split the teams into 2. Me and some Game and Fish officers and my other team and the rest of the Game and Fish checked the logging roads. Probably 60 yards down the logging road to the left, a blue jug was laying down by the wood line. Caught my attention. After a few minutes, assumed that it was going to be a jug. We started proceeding on probably another 5 steps. Officer Matt Haney and Officer Lee Ellington stepped in front of me. And when I looked back, Matt was looking to his left, and when I gazed around, you could see one of the children's head on the ground. I believe Officer Haney was the first one to holler, "Get your hands up." I began giving commands. The little girl picked her head up. The other little girl picked her head up. After another command, Mr. Hayes began to raise his head. I could see a weapon in his hand. I hollered "gun" 3 times loud to let my team know that there was a weapon involved. We ordered Mr. Hayes to drop the weapon numerous times. Mr. Hayes raised to his knees, never brandished the gun toward any of us or the children. At that time, he took his life. They didn't cry. I would think maybe relieved after the incident was over, because they had been several days without food and water, so I believe they was really relieved.
So once the girls were treated in the hospital, they were released into the custody of their father, Gary. And at the cabin, investigators were searching, and they found a rifle, a sawed-off shotgun, along with the pistol that Adam had in his hands. But they also found condoms and a diary that they would later refer to as a love book. This was actually a white binder including details of wedding plans of Adam's marriage to Alexandria, the 12-year-old girl. This was from her perspective, as she believed she was going to be his wife. However, the question remained, why did he do any of this? Was this diary pointing to the motive? Did he really believe that they were his kids, and that's why he spared their lives that day? However, for the surviving sisters, their fight wouldn't end there. They would still be asked to tell their story, relive their trauma, thankfully with child trauma specialists to help them, but they then had to attend the funeral of their mother and their sister. Their father Gary said that he was destroyed by this senseless crime, but there was a silver lining in the dark cloud because his other two girls were safe with him. However, it couldn't just be that easy. You see, the girls weren't sure where they were going to be living at this point because Gary was there being their father. He was loving and supporting them. However, these girls had two different fathers. Kalia was the daughter of Joanne and Gary, so he, of course, had full custody of her. But Alexandria was the daughter of Joanne and Mark Johnson. He had given his rights away to Joanne, but now he wanted his daughter back. Mark said that because Joanne was no longer going to be in her life, he wanted Alexandria back, and he posted on Facebook that he didn't care who he made mad. He was going to get a good lawyer. He said that Gary didn't want to allow this, that he was going to take both of the girls to California to spread the ashes of Joanne and Adrian on the beaches there, and he was afraid that they weren't coming back. However, due to Mark already giving his rights away, undoing this would prove to be difficult. So hearing about the rescue of these girls and Adam's death, Adam's mother-in-law, Josie, told ABC News that she was trying really hard not to be ugly, but that he took the coward's way out and left her daughter, Teresa, hanging. She remained adamant that Teresa was not guilty, that she was coerced, manipulated, brainwashed, and forced into helping him, and now they were going to seek the death penalty for her. She said that her feelings for Adam were about as close to hate as she'll ever come because he not only destroyed the Bain family, but their family as well. Now, Teresa's sister, who was named Bobby Booth, said that she believes that her sister is as much of a victim as the Bain family, that Teresa was scared of Adam, and she did what he told her to do, knowing that she would suffer if she didn't. But Joanne Bain had a friend of 26 years named Brenda Foster, and she claimed that the theory that Adam spoke, that he believed that the girls were his own, that he was their father, couldn't have been true. She said Joanne never had an intimate relationship with Adam. In fact, they treated him like a son. Gary would give him odd jobs. However, Joanne's cousin named Vicky said that there was a brief intimate relationship between Adam and Joanne at one point. Now, two more people were also arrested at this time for illegal possession of a firearm, one being the person who provided Adam the gun that he took his life with. Nearly a month after his death, though, his body had still not been claimed by his family nor anyone else. Adam's brother refused to take the body, and the Emmy's office said that they believed they were going to have to pay the $900 to cremate his body on their own. The FBI then announced that the reward money had been given out to several of the tipsters, leading to the capture of Adam Mays. But in August of 2012, 3 months since the abductions and murders, a court hearing had been scheduled for Teresa and Mary Mays. Adam's wife Teresa pled not guilty to all of her charges of murder and kidnapping, and Adam's mother Mary pled not guilty as well to her charges of kidnapping because her charges had been changed from conspiracy to commit kidnapping to just kidnapping. Now, this was because investigators believed that Mary had actually been the one to confine the two younger girls after Adam and Teresa had arrived at her home. Both said that they had nothing to do with it. It was also found that both women had been sending letters to their family while in prison, with Teresa saying that she should have listened to her family and never have gotten married to Adam. Mary, though, his mother, said that she and Teresa were lucky to be alive, that she believed Adam was going to kill them next. Mary spoke about the abuse of her son that had been happening for a long time, that he would often hit her in the stomach, he would push Teresa up against a wall, and that her son's abuse and behavior was the family's secret. She wrote, "When you are afraid of someone, you don't cross them or ask why. I have been that way for years. No one ever knew because who wants to be afraid of their children? I slept my first safe night behind bars and still dream of him coming in here." On October 1st, 2012, Teresa and Mary appeared in court, and a statement from Teresa was read by Special Agent Valerie Trout. In this statement, Teresa claimed that she had taken the two younger girls for a drive while Adam stayed at their home, and when they returned, Adam had two bodies wrapped up in tarps. She claimed that Adam had hit Joanne in the head with a board, then strangled her with a rope, and then he smothered Adrian. Adam had also allegedly told Teresa that he had drugged Gary so he wouldn't stop the attack. This is when Teresa gave a possible motive that the public hadn't heard, because she said that Adam was in love with Alexandria, the 12-year-old girl, and feared losing her when the family moved to Arizona. Adam had allegedly told her that he couldn't live without this 12-year-old, and that is when he began to plan. He talked about the kidnapping more than a year prior to this, and he called Alexandria his new love, and Teresa claimed she had witnessed the two of them kiss. Teresa also admitted that the successful kidnapping wasn't the first time that they had tried. You see, Adam had sold his motorcycle to get money to prepare for all of this, and then 2 days prior to the actual murders and abduction on April 25th, Teresa and Adam had wanted to abduct the younger girls from the school bus stop. However, they arrived too late. She claimed that Adam was already staying with the family to help them pack, and so she hid under blankets in their car outside of the home for 2 days, only eating pickles. She said that she was threatened that he would kill her if she didn't help. Teresa said on the 27th, Adam entered the Bain home with the key that he had been given. He then gave Gary a tequila sunrise cocktail with Vicodin and prescription drugs to knock him out or possibly kill him. And then Adam went to wake up Joanne, telling her that Kalia was sleepwalking outside of the house. He then went on to murder Joanne and the eldest daughter. Teresa said Joanne had struggled and left scratches on Adam's neck. They then loaded the corpses into the car, and as Teresa and Adam took the two younger girls away from the home, the youngest, Kalia, began crying. This is when Teresa would say that her older sister, Alexandria, told her to calm down, that she, Alexandria, was going to be Kalia's new mom, and that Adam was going to be her new dad. Teresa said that Alexandria even wrote in a journal that she was going to run away with Adam because she didn't want to move to Arizona. Teresa then admitted to buying a chemical to dissolve the bodies of Joanne and Adrian, which could have been why they were so badly decomposed already. But when they got to Adam's mother's home, he buried them with a borrowed shovel, and Teresa said he acted proud of himself, like he accomplished his plan. She said that sometime after May 1st, that's when Adam and the girls disappeared into the woods with packed bags, meaning that if they were found on May 10th, they could have been out in those woods for around 9 days by that time. Now, in the courtroom, while her statement was being read, Teresa occasionally wiped her eyes, and then it was time for Special Agent Kathy Ferguson to testify, and she said that no evidence had been found that Adam was the father of any of the Bain children. Did this eliminate the prior possible motive that he believed that they were his own and that's why he had taken them? Unfortunately, because he had taken his life, there wasn't answers that could fully be given. But both Teresa and Mary's cases were sent to a grand jury, and around this time, which was 6 months after the rescue, Action News 5 would report that the surviving sisters were doing good. Their neighbors were vowing to protect them and keep them safe. The whole neighborhood was praying for them, but they didn't have many personal updates because they were trying to keep things extremely private for the girls.
I don't know where they were found, but I would have done any possible thing I could have to protect those two little girls, because they were so precious. They are precious. Thank God, thank God.
All they would say was that the girls were being homeschooled. They would sometimes make trips to the library. They were undergoing counseling and spending a lot of time with family. And those that are close to the family said that Gary is doing a great job with them, keeping them out of the public eye and getting them the help that they need. But on August 9th, 2013, both Teresa and Mary would take plea deals. But this was said to be due to the fact that the survivor's father had asked them to do so. He didn't want his daughters to have to relive their nightmares in a courtroom. And so Teresa's attorney said that she pled guilty, but she entered the plea under the theory that it was in the best interest, and she maintains her innocence. She was sentenced to 35 years minus the time served, which was 460 days. Mary was then sentenced to 13 and a half years. However, she had been in and out of prison fighting lung cancer at this time and needed a wheelchair to arrive in the courtroom. Alexandria and Kalia are said to still be with their father, Gary, and he has said that they are attempting to adjust and acclimate to life. And thankfully, due to the plea agreements, the survivors didn't have to testify. They didn't have to go through any of this again. And the DA, Mike Dunvallant, said, "Let's not forget who the true monster is here. It's Adam Mays. He is no longer with us, so we are left to pick up the pieces and hold those women accountable. And we think we've done that." 3 years later, though, both women were moved to the Women's Therapeutic Residential Center due to good behavior. Do you believe that they should have gotten those sentences? Do you believe that they had more to do in the murders and the cover-up and the kidnapping of this family? Do you think that it was mainly Adam that was doing this and he had forced them to be involved? Were they willingly involved? If they were forced, do they still deserve to have sentences and be blamed for what he did? Let me know down below. But it was such a relief to see that although some things in this case pointed to Alexandria knowing what was going on, wanting to be with Adam, no one blamed this poor girl for anything. It was such a relief to see that, because this 12-year-old girl had been groomed by a man her family trusted, a man she called uncle for years. Because at the end of the day, this 12-year-old girl simply, it seems like, just didn't want to go to Arizona. She didn't necessarily want to be a wife, a mother to her sister. This was something that a grown man had warped her mind into believing was okay. And I just hope she doesn't have any guilt for what happened. This story is one that parents need to learn about. Groomers, that pedophiles, they're good at getting into the minds of the family and manipulating them first. So it starts with the parents. I've seen too many cases where these families will have these family friends that they think is just amazing, that they let around their kids and they just have this unlimited trust no matter what, no matter if this person has proven that they're trustworthy or not. It is a red flag if they want to be around your children, especially alone, and because those kids think, that's just my uncle, of course, they are going to also trust him as well. So this is just a reminder for parents everywhere. Be more vigilant for your children. Don't just let anybody have access to them. There is a lot unknown about what actually happened within those days that these two young girls were abducted. And I just send them so much healing for what they did endure. And I hope that they know that none of this is their fault, and that their mother and their sister would be so proud of them for how they did survive. So please leave down below and tell them how proud you are of them. I am so proud of you, Alexandria and Kalia. And I wish you the best, happiest, most fulfilled lives possible. So don't forget to speak up. Your voice is powerful enough, and I love you to absolute pieces. Okay, bye.